Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We're going to do something different tonight. We're just going to go straight into the topics. We're not going to go into COVID because everyone's getting the COVID vaccine, but we are going to stick to COVID. We're not going to. That doesn't mean I'm not sweeping the COVID numbers under the rug. That doesn't mean that. We are going to do topics that are COVID related, like school, like the vaccines, the schools, etc. And what that means for you and for you and your child. So I want to start out by saying that the Johnson & Johnson is no longer in pause. If you guys remember, it was paused earlier this month because of what's happened, because of the blood clots in that Johnson & Johnson vaccine. If you were the ones that took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine here in Corpus, you may have noticed some blood clots. And that's what caused Johnson & Johnson, that's what caused them to shut down the process of distributing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because of the blood clots. That is basically what I think. So now that the order is lifted, everyone can just go back and get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that's still in play here. So that is basically the great news for COVID, but not so great news is the younger population. The cases are ramping up. Officials saying the new cases are providing to be more severe as well. Why? It's because of the younger people. Meaning to the teens and 20s. And it's all because of, it's in the younger population to 45, 49 to 50, from 18 to 50 years old, increased from the public health district. The new cases are proven to be more severe as well. So as the cases rise, it's getting more severe. So I think by the end of the year, we could see the cases go down, more people get the vaccine. So, and the question is, if you get COVID, should you get the vaccine? Yes, you should. But you have to study the side effects first before you get that vaccine. Do some research beforehand so that you can know what to expect. Get the Tylenol ready in case you start having pains. So before you do that, you need to look at the side effects first. Then after that, you need to get Tylenol, just in case. Third, get your shot. And have the Tylenol by your side. It could be if you're going to be laying down, if you're going to be sitting in the living room while watching TV, have the Tylenol by the couch. If you're in your room, put it right by the desk. If you're in the kitchen while cooking, have it by the counter. And don't walk away from the heat while cooking. And don't be walking away and taking the Tylenol. If you're feeling worse, just take that Tylenol and it's going to help. In a few days, everything will be better. According to Chris Bird, if you contact COVID now and you're not vaccinated, you're more likely to go to the hospital or to die when older variants are prevalent. Although vaccines are being distributed daily, there still aren't enough young people getting the shot. Bird said if you're under 16, you can't get vaccinated now. If you're under 18, it's difficult because there's only at least one vaccine. If you're under 18, you need the Pfizer. It starts getting more difficult to get vaccinated when you're below 18. If you're over 18 or 16 or 18, it's okay. But if you're under 16 or 18, you can't get that vaccine. COVID's not out of control. Stay at the same level. Don't want to throw more fuel on that fire. I mean, we're trying to put out this fire by everyone getting that vaccine and making sure that they're following these tips. Like I'm telling you, always. You need to make sure that you need to make sure you wear masks everywhere. Stores, restaurants, public places, convenience stores, etc. Games, arcades. The only time you're able to take off that mask is if you're eating or drinking. If not, keep the mask on. And the mask should be at the nose. Not down here, nor under the chin. At the bridge of the nose. And those metal things need to be tight. Number 2, social distance all times. 6 feet or less. If you don't see no one doing social distancing, you need to walk away. Don't deal with the manager and say, you need to do this or that. That is up to them. Don't you dare point the finger at them and say, look, sir, I need you to be social distance. That'd be up to the manager's boss. Manager's manager. What do I mean by that? Well, it's basically the supervisor. Same thing for schools. If your school is 3 feet, okay. If not, stay at the 6 feet range. Like my 2 fingers here. I don't know if they can reach 6 feet, but this is all I can do. Sanitize your area every time. Make sure you get disinfectant wipes and disinfectant spray, like Lysol. Lysol always helps. Wash your hands. Hot water. Very, very important. Hot water every 30 seconds. Every hour. That includes restaurants. If you have a medical condition, okay. Just make sure you let the number beforehand. You're under 2, you cannot wear a mask. And all masks are provided if you forget. If you forget your mask, then all stores will provide you with the mask. If you refuse to wear them, then you're going to be under arrest for trespassing. That's my statement here. That's the COVID wrap-up here. But there's more. Give me a break. When we return, especially what has been happening. And this one is the biggest issue ever, which I'm going to be focusing on right now. The question is, when is the right time to teach children all about guns? Because when they get into the teen years or juvenile years, what they're going to be doing is buying a gun illegally under the age of 18, and especially with laws passed, with the law passed in the state of Texas, where we talked about where you don't need a license to carry a gun if you're over 18. If you're over 18, you cannot buy a gun. But what do you mean for some kids? How early should you teach kids about guns and teach them all about gun safety? Then later in the broadcast, we're going to talk to you about the foods that can change your life. And more topics to come. Stay tuned. Okay, let's face it, folks. Your kids are going to get into your gun sooner. It could be in your gun room. It could be somewhere they want you to. Maybe in your pants. KeystoneShootingCenter.com has an article about it. Ignoring guns and negliging your child to teach children to use gun safety is a dangerous thing to do. Keep guns in your home. Your children are likely to have friends whose parents are gun owners. What is the right age to start teaching guns? The earlier the better. That's the answer. First, you need to start with gun safety. What I mean by that is, as parents, you need to begin teaching your children. If they want to learn more about guns, they want to start shooting the gun at an early age, you need to begin teaching your children about guns when they first show awareness or interest in them. If their child sees the gun, bam. That is the most very instant. You have to decide with your life partner and say, you know what? I think little Timmy should learn about gun safety. But the general rule of thumb is you should begin teaching children about guns when they first show awareness. It should happen between the ages of 3 and 7 years of age. It might mean your child notices dad cleaning a hunting rifle, hears someone talking about it, going to shoot at the range. And tell your children that guns are not a toy. Alright? I mean, look, there's all these toy guns here. I mean, there's kids who've been arrested in schools for... Little kids arrested in schools for bringing a toy gun. It's a great way to demonstrate to your child that guns can be used for sport, not considered a toy. It's also perfect time to teach your child what to do if they come across the gun. Stop, run away, then tell a grown-up. Several different methods are out there. The best way to teach a child, including the NRA's Eddie Eagle program. It's a helpful thing. For young children, they may call the stop, drop, and roll on gun safety. This is what I call stop, run away, then tell a grown-up. Your child sees a gun, they need to stop, run away, and talk to you about it. That's what I think needs to happen. Next, move on to gun maintenance. When you take away the mystery behind a gun, it takes away the temptation a child might otherwise feel to explore it. Between the ages 5 and 7, once the child is like 7 years old or 5 years old, you're getting introduced to the parts of the gun, teaching them about gun maintenance. It helps familiarize them with the parts of the gun as well as proper handling of the gun. If you take away the mystery around a gun, it takes away the temptation that a child might otherwise feel to explore it. Also, continue to reinforce safety and the importance of use and handling it. Just because your child is older, that doesn't mean that these concepts are no longer meaningful. Always be reminded to our firearm safety throughout discussions about gun maintenance and makeup. Number 3, you need to start small. I recommend between the ages of 7 and 10 years old. If your child is grown up to do so, you can introduce your child to proper shooting basics. The best way to introduce these concepts is by using a BB gun, a pellet gun, and or an airsoft gun. An appropriate option. Accordingly, teach them responsibility with the risk of associating a firearm. Next, the real deal. 8 to 14 years of age, bring your child to maturity. Time to teach about good marksmanship with a pistol hunting rifle during a short hunting trip. At this point, I'm bringing all the information present over the years. What you also need to teach them is that gun license. You need to make sure to tell your child, in some states, if you live in Texas, there are some states out there that have to require a gun license and background checks. And this is the big one. Monitor your child's progress and make sure they maintain a safe standards as they grow. Now, when we return, now we learn about gun safety. Now we learn all about these tips, how to monitor your child's progress with the guns. Let's move on. When we return, we're going to move on to the big thing in our safety break. When we return, we're going to teach your child, we're going to tell you how to teach your child all about guns. Well, I think we already did that. We're going to recap all these tips. We're going to tell you some new tips and talk about gun education for children. Stay tuned. So, we're talking about how to teach your children, how to teach your kids about gun safety for all parents. And I think this is a tool great for every parent to use. They can use this guide to teach they can use this guide, use this video to teach all the kids about gun safety. I think it's very important for your child to learn about this if they want to learn how to shoot a gun and stuff. There are some general guidelines that parents need to follow. And we're going to repeat them, and there's some we have not. Take the mystery out of firearms. Incorporate visual aids. Many parents also find it helpful to show a picture of bloody animals to demonstrate the force of a gunshot. These are visual aids. Show them pictures. Get some pictures of bloody animals, put them off the internet, and then show them to your child. And what will happen if they try to shoot it? The object here is not to terrify your child, but to help them understand the purpose of a firearm. What I recommend is you find a movie for your child. Like, you can still use the Eddie Eagle program. What I recommend is find a good movie or a good TV show. Like, I recommend 2 episodes of King of the Hill. The first episode of season 1, season 2, episode 1, How to Fire Rifle Immediately Trying, and To Kill a Ladybird. to where what would happen in the hunting episode from season 3 and from season 4, episode 7, to kill a ladybird. That's to corporate visual aids. Next, monkey see, monkey do. Don't take your own firearm on your child's first hunt. Dads, listen. Many of you dream about your first father-son hunting trip since the child was in diapers. Have your child get the BB gun for your child and have them use the BB gun. It's less noisy and it can help. That's how I started. I started with a BB gun at a young age. Emphasize safety above all else. Safety comes first. If your child possesses their knowledge and understanding of firearms, it's critical to continue the stress of safety above all else. That's why this segment of Safety Break is all about gun safety. Remember, a child's impulse control isn't fully developed, so it's easy for them to forget what they've learned. They focus on showing off or goofing around with their friends. Don't let them do that. Get them a toy gun to start off with at a young age. Next, look for teachable moments. If your child gets older, like in the teen years, they'll be exposed to more gun violence television and in video games. I recommend at an older age. Don't be letting them play Grand Theft Auto at 5 years old. Wait until they're 17. Or have some video games that are with a gun. As an adult, you realize these games are unrealistic, but a child does not. It's a good way to limit their exposure to these types of movies or entertainment. Prevent them from seeing something they shouldn't. Psychologists say you sit down with them and say, hey, if you shoot a gun at a person, this is what it does. Story of guns, violence, and news being provided means a discussion. Just show them about all these accidents that happened like years ago, like the shooting at Columbine. That always helps. And what I think really needs to happen is that you show them more about gun safety and all these accidents. It can really teach the child's muscle brain here and say, okay, well, I better not be doing this and that, otherwise I could go to jail. Now, what kind of classes can your children take? Well, there's always a hunting safety course. The state of Pennsylvania requires first-time hunters to take a complete hunter-trapper education to obtain lessons to hunt. Children as young as 11 years old can enroll in the hunter-trapper education class only if you live in the state of Pennsylvania. Other states do not, but they have to know. Children under 16 are required to take hunter safety course in the classroom. Your child will be face-to-face with an instructor and other hunters, providing them to place and ask questions and learn from others too. There's the Keystone Shooting Center. They offer a 2-hour rifle training course for children 10 to 16 years of age. A parent should accompany children to this class. Period. Next, youth pistols. Again, it provides older kids with a safe place to explore and learn about handguns and handgun safety. And coming up in the near future, what I'm going to tell you, and coming in the near future, I'm going to show you a clip from 2020 all about gun safety, or probably from Dateline's Lion King Would Never Do That, talking really about gun safety and what it actually means for your child. But also the question is, how can you tell your child is really ready to learn about guns? The right time. This is from the NRA. But that's really all there is to know about gun safety. Coming up in 2 weeks, I'm going to tell you about the biggest thing ever for your parents. How to talk to your kids about sex. Now, you may think I'm joking with this, but there are really times when a child might ask, where do babies come from at a young age? You as a parent are too afraid to talk about it. You parents will be like, all I can tell you is, you got a gun in your pants. Be careful when you pull the trigger. Don't play it, Colonel. And there's lots of moms who say that with a slap them like, Jackie Yatta, where do you want little babies come from? Because I'm 25. Even some cultures don't even let their parents talk about sex in front of their kids. it's important for them to really know where babies come from and learn a lot about sex. I mean, yes, there is sex education. But what if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, you have to find another option for them. Schools have sexual education. It can always help. That's in 2 weeks. When we return, some foods that can change your life. And you may want to stick around for this. Be right back. Finally tonight, ever since the lockdown, you've been trying to find some foods that are trying to change your life. But there are some lists, and I'm going to tell them to you right now. There's banana bread. There's engagement chicken. There's cookie recipes. There's cookies. There's brownies. And there's also the butternut squash soup. You never heard of it? Well, I'll provide a link in the description below about a famous Emeril Lagasse recipe called butternut squash and smoked sausage soup with corn. It's really good. I'll provide the video to that in the description below. That's it. Those are the foods that can change your life. And especially butternut squash. There's also like a lot of other foods that can save your life. So before we go, I want you to listen. Lentils, butternut squash, potatoes, pizza, jalapenos. Sweet. And these are all the foods that can save your life. Try them out, and maybe one day these foods can change your life, even if you're old enough of age. That's all for this Vision Break Sunday. I'm off all next week. All this week. I'm off Monday, Tuesday. I'm off Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All this week. So I'll see you again next week. I'll see you again next week for another edition of Give Me a Break. I'll see you next Sunday. I'll see you next Sunday for another edition of Give Me a Break, where we talk about how to talk to your kids about sex. For all of us here at YouTube, have a great night.